Imagine being trapped in the same place for 5 years. No way to escape, no one coming to save you, and no idea whether the outside world even remembers you exist. This is the terrifying setup of *5 years trapped, a survival thriller about isolation, desperation, and one person's fight to stay alive when every possible escape seems impossible. The story begins with an ordinary man whose life suddenly changes after a terrifying incident leaves him completely isolated. At first, he believes his situation will only last for a short time. He tells himself that someone will find him. Someone will notice that he's missing. Someone will come looking, but days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And eventually, the terrifying truth becomes impossible to ignore. No one is coming. The place where he's trapped becomes his entire world. There is barely enough food. There is limited water. The temperature constantly changes, and every small mistake could become fatal. At first, he focuses entirely on escape. He searches every corner of the area. He examines doors, windows, walls, and anything else that might provide a way out. He tries breaking through barriers. He tries creating tools from whatever objects he can find. Every attempt fails, but he refuses to give up. He keeps telling himself that survival is temporary. He only needs to last long enough for someone to find him. Then his sense of time begins disappearing. Without sunlight, clocks, or regular contact with other people, the days become difficult to distinguish from one another. His mind starts playing tricks on him. He begins talking to himself. He creates routines. He counts everything: food, days, steps. Every small detail becomes important because routine is the only thing keeping him mentally stable. But the longer he remains trapped, the more dangerous his environment becomes. His supplies begin running out. He has to become creative. He learns how to preserve food. He collects water wherever possible. He repairs damaged equipment, and he begins using objects that were never designed for survival. Everything becomes valuable. Nothing can be wasted. Meanwhile, memories of his old life begin returning. He remembers his family, his friends, the places he used to visit, the ordinary things he once complained about. Now those ordinary moments feel like a different lifetime. He would give anything to experience them again. But there is another problem. He doesn't know whether anyone outside is still searching for him. 5 years is an incredibly long time. People move on, families change, lives continue. The world doesn't stop simply because one person has disappeared. That realization becomes one of the most painful parts of his imprisonment. He isn't just fighting against hunger and isolation. He's fighting against the fear that he has already been forgotten. Then, after years of believing escape is impossible, he notices something. A tiny detail that he overlooked countless times. A weakness in the structure. A possible route out. For the first time in years, hope returns. But escaping won't be easy. He has spent so long trapped that his body is weak. His mind is exhausted, and the outside world itself has become an unknown. Still, he begins preparing. Every tool he has collected over the years suddenly has a purpose. Every experiment, every failed escape attempt, every painful lesson, they have all been preparing him for this moment. Because after 5 years of being trapped, he finally has one last chance to escape. And if he fails this time, there may never be another opportunity. The discovery gives him something he hasn't felt in years: hope. But hope can be dangerous when you've spent so long believing there is no way out. He begins working on the weak point every day. He measures the structure, tests different tools, calculates how much force he needs. And slowly, the barrier begins to give way. But just as he gets closer to creating an opening, something goes wrong. Part of the structure collapses. He is injured and trapped beneath the debris. For hours, he lies there unable to move. His breathing becomes difficult, his strength disappears, and once again, he starts wondering whether this is how his story will end. After surviving 5 years, he could die only meters away from freedom. But he refuses to surrender. Using whatever strength remains, he manages to free himself. The experience changes him. He realizes that escaping isn't just about finding a physical opening. He has to overcome the psychological prison that has formed inside his mind. For 5 years, he has been living according to the rules of captivity. Now he has to believe that freedom is actually possible. He continues preparing. His body becomes stronger. His escape route becomes more reliable. And finally, the day arrives. He gathers everything he might need and begins the most dangerous attempt of his life. Slowly, he moves through the narrow passage he has created. Every sound makes him stop. Every movement risks bringing the entire structure down. For a moment, he becomes convinced that he's made a mistake. Then he sees something he hasn't seen in 5 years. Natural light, real sunlight. He freezes. He doesn't immediately move toward it. Instead, he simply looks at it. After 5 years of darkness and artificial light, even the simplest sunrise feels almost unbelievable. He finally reaches the outside. He collapses onto the ground. For several minutes, he simply breathes. The air feels different. The sky looks enormous. The world seems impossibly large. But freedom brings another realization. The world continued without him. Buildings have changed. Technology has changed. People have changed. And he has changed the most. He no longer knows where he belongs. He tries to contact the people from his old life, but the responses aren't what he imagined. Some people believed he was dead. Others eventually moved on. The life he remembered no longer exists. This is the final challenge. Surviving captivity was one thing. Learning how to live again is something completely different. He begins rebuilding himself slowly. He seeks medical help for the physical damage caused by years of isolation. He tries to reconnect with people. He struggles with ordinary situations because things that everyone else considers normal now feel overwhelming. Crowds, traffic, noise, open spaces, even sleeping in a normal room feels strange. For 5 years, survival was his only purpose. Now he has to find a new one. And that's where the story becomes more than a survival thriller. It's about what happens to a person after the thing they've been fighting against is finally gone. The prison may have disappeared, but its effects remain. He understands that freedom isn't simply walking through a door. Freedom means learning to make choices again. It means trusting people. It means allowing yourself to imagine a future. And most importantly, it means refusing to let the years that were stolen from you control the years you still have. After everything he has survived, he finally looks toward the future. He can't recover the 5 years he lost. But he can decide what the next 5 years will become. And for the first time in a very long time, he is free. But even after escaping, the story doesn't simply become a happy ending. The 5 years have left permanent scars. He has survived something most people could never imagine, but survival has changed the way he sees everything around him. The smallest freedoms now feel incredibly valuable. Opening a door, walking outside, feeling rain, seeing another person. These are ordinary experiences for everyone else. For him, they're reminders of how much was taken away. He slowly begins rebuilding his life, but there are moments when the memories return. Certain sounds remind him of the place where he was trapped. Dark rooms make him uncomfortable. Being alone can bring back the same fear he experienced during those endless years. He realizes that escaping physically was only the first step. The real escape is psychological. He has to stop thinking like a prisoner. He has to stop expecting danger around every corner. He has to believe that tomorrow can actually be different from today. And slowly, he begins doing exactly that. He reconnects with the people who are still part of his life. He tells them what happened, even when the memories are painful. For years, he kept everything inside because there was nobody to talk to. Now he finally has someone who will listen. That becomes part of his recovery. He also realizes that the 5 years didn't completely destroy him. They taught him patience. They taught him discipline. They taught him how valuable life really is. Before his imprisonment, he probably took ordinary freedom for granted. Afterward, he understands that freedom is one of the greatest things a person can possess. The final moments focus less on the mystery of how he was trapped and more on what he chooses to do after escaping. He stands outside, looking toward the horizon. The world is still complicated. His future is uncertain. He can't get back the years he lost. But he doesn't need to. Those years are now part of his story. They don't have to become his entire identity. He survived when survival seemed impossible. He escaped when escape seemed impossible. And now he has something he never had during those 5 years. A choice. He can live in fear of the past. Or he can finally start building a future. And that's the real meaning behind the story. Being trapped isn't always about walls, locked doors, or physical isolation. Sometimes the hardest prison is the one that remains inside your mind. The character spends 5 years fighting to escape a physical prison. But after finally reaching freedom, he discovers that his greatest battle is learning how to live again. And in the end, that's exactly what he does. He doesn't forget the 5 years. He doesn't pretend they never happened. He simply refuses to let them decide the rest of his life. Because 5 years may have been stolen from him. But the future is still his to choose. After 5 years of surviving alone in the ruined building, Asha has learned one important rule. Never trust strangers. The world outside has become almost unrecognizable. The massive flood destroyed most of Hong Kong, leaving only the upper floors of buildings above the water. The streets are gone, most of the population is gone, and the remaining survivors are scattered across whatever dry places still exist. Asha has managed to stay alive by hiding supplies throughout the building. She collects anything useful: food, water, tools, anything that could help her survive another day. But she isn't completely alone. Her closest companion is a small dog named Hey. Together, they have created a routine. They stay hidden, they avoid dangerous survivors, and they never reveal how many supplies they have. One day, however, Asha realizes that their remaining food and water won't last forever. She needs to find a way out. She has heard rumors that a shelter still exists somewhere beyond the flooded city. But reaching it means crossing dangerous waters filled with unknown creatures and desperate people. Asha prepares everything she can carry. Then she and Hey leave their hiding place. For the first time in years, Asha travels across the ruined building and toward the outside world. But she soon discovers that someone else has already entered the building. A group of scavengers is searching the ruins for supplies. They aren't interested in helping anyone. They're looking for anything valuable they can steal. Asha hides and watches them carefully. She knows that if they discover her supplies, they will take everything. She waits for the right moment. Then she creates a distraction and manages to separate one of the scavengers from the others. But the situation becomes dangerous when a young boy appears. At first, he sounds innocent. He asks for help. He claims he is alone. Asha hesitates. After 5 years of isolation, she desperately wants to believe that someone can still be trusted. But the boy is not what he seems. He is working with the scavengers. Asha realizes the truth just in time and escapes to the roof. The boy follows her. He starts begging her to open the door. For a moment, Asha considers letting him inside. Then he suddenly pulls out a gun and begins shooting through the door. Asha realizes that compassion could get her killed. She leaves him trapped outside and continues toward the water. But the remaining scavengers are still nearby. They have taken control of a boat and loaded it with supplies. Asha knows this may be her only chance to escape the ruined city. She watches them carefully, waiting for an opportunity. Finally, she spots an opening. Using a makeshift harpoon, she tries to reach the boat. The weapon misses. It falls into the water. Asha is forced to improvise. She moves closer to the boat while one of the scavengers watches over Hey. Then Hey suddenly attacks. The dog pushes the man over the edge. But the man grabs onto Hey, pulling her into the water with him. Asha doesn't hesitate. Even after everything she has survived, she refuses to abandon her companion. She jumps into the flooded water. For a terrifying moment, both Asha and Hey disappear beneath the surface. Then something moves in the darkness. The scavenger is suddenly attacked by a massive creature living beneath the flooded city. Asha and Hey manage to escape. They reach the boat and climb aboard. For the first time in 5 years, Asha has a real chance to leave. The stolen supplies will give them enough food and water to continue their journey. But she still doesn't know what awaits them. The shelter could be real, or it could be another trap. Either way, Asha understands one thing. Staying in the ruined building is no longer an option. So she starts the boat. With Hey beside her, she leaves the remains of the city behind. That night, for the first time in years, Asha finally sleeps without nightmares. The world around her is still dangerous. The flood has changed everything. But after 5 years of being trapped, she is finally moving forward. Asha and Hey continue across the flooded city, searching for the rumored shelter. After everything they've survived, Asha finally reaches a place where other survivors are living. But instead of feeling safe, she realizes the world has changed forever. The people she meets are fighting to rebuild their lives, while others are still willing to hurt anyone for food and supplies. Asha chooses not to become one of them. She shares what little she has and helps the survivors protect themselves from the dangers surrounding them. For the first time in 5 years, she isn't simply surviving alone. She has found a reason to trust again. Looking at the ruined city behind her, Asha realizes that those 5 years trapped in isolation took away a part of her life, but they also taught her how strong she could become. She cannot change what happened. She cannot bring back the world that existed before the flood. But she can choose what happens next. With Hey beside her, Asha looks toward the horizon. The old world is gone. But a new one can still be built. And after 5 years of being trapped, Asha is finally free.